Well, let me just talk about Hadoop evolutions and features of Hadoop. Well, let me talk about the Hadoop's history initially. If we talk about the history, Google is the sole organization which has been dealing with the data of huge magnitudes, almost the data of several hundreds of petabytes or exabytes. Google is the only organization who has been dealing with large magnitudes of data. And it is $1 million question for the industry how Google could able to handle its huge magnitudes of data. And Google never ever revealed its secret out. But for the first time in the history, it revealed its secret out in the form of a white paper in the year of 2003, mentioning that it has been following its own file system for the storage. For data storage, it has been following its own file system called as Google's file system. And very next year, 2004, it revealed another white paper mentioning how it is processing the data. So it revealed its storage and processing secrets. And these two white papers were implemented by Mr. Douglas Reed Cutting and Mike Caffarella, where they just built an open source search engine project as Nutch. Apache Nutch is an open source search engine project where in the year of 2005 the Nutch project is a great success. And years later, that is around 2008, Hadoop, the word Hadoop came into the picture, which was named after Douglas Reed Cutting's son's toy elephant, and which is made as an open source through Apache. Currently, Hadoop is an open source through Apache. Now let me talk about the technical perspectives, because whatever I talked is just a simple history. What are all the Hadoop outstanding features? Well, the first one is scalability. If you want to build a Hadoop cluster, let me share that you initially built a cluster of 100 nodes, and after a long run you thought of extending your cluster size, where you thought of commissioning or attaching 50 more nodes to your 100 node cluster. And if you want to attach the new nodes to your existing Hadoop cluster, you no need to stop your services. You can run your cluster as it is and you can commission the nodes. You can expand your cluster size. That is one of the feature. And there is no saturation point for the cluster in Hadoop. Your Hadoop cluster might comprise of thousands of nodes. There is no constraint. So far, the largest cluster in Hadoop is at Yahoo, comprising of 42,000 nodes. 42,000 node cluster is the largest cluster so far at Yahoo currently. It's what it is at Yahoo. That too according to the 2011 records, because the latest picture was not revealed out. So the largest cluster so far was at Yahoo, comprising of 42,000 nodes. And Hadoop is designed for commodity hardware where we don't require anything like blade servers or Spark processors to work on. It is designed for commodity hardware, cheap hardware. And it is an open source which is also a very good feature, which is not commercial. And flexibility indicates you can handle any sort of data in Hadoop. You can handle structured, unstructured, and semi-structured data in Hadoop. And fault tolerance, I need to talk about this. If you want to upload a file into Hadoop, let me share for the ease of calculation. You uploaded a file of 10 GB in Hadoop. Just in order to upload a 10 GB file in Hadoop, it will occupy 30 GB of space. Because whatever the file you upload, whatever the data you upload in Hadoop, it will be copied thrice of its actual size. Because you will have 3 copies of your data by default, where you can even increase it or you can even decrease it. But 3 is default. And these 3 replications of your data is made in such a way that if any one of the replication goes down, you no need to worry regarding that. If there is any one of the replication went down among your 3 replications, no problem, you no need to worry regarding that. Your framework was designed in such a way that it will handle the scenario and it will make the another active replication replacing the last replication. So whatever the file you uploaded, it will be having 3 copies by default, and your framework is designed to have a high availability of your data. No need to worry regarding that. And efficiency. Since you are following a massive parallel approach of processing your data, where you can get a very good and outstanding performance using Hadoop. And people might get a question like this. After all, for storing few GBs of data, I need to occupy 3 times of the actual size, where it sounds like that I am wasting my resources. But not exactly, because you are using the commodity hardware, cheap hardware, which costs nothing. No need to worry regarding that. It's of cheap hardware where it costs nothing. And the consistency indicates, if you consider a Hadoop cluster, there might be several hundreds of jobs being performed on Hadoop. There may be several hundreds of jobs being performed on your Hadoop cluster, and each and every job will be run independently. One job will not have any impact on the performance of the other job. That is consistency and the perspective. And note what is the minimum redundancy count. So by default you'll have 3 copies of your data. It's of 3 by default, where you can even modify it. And node communication indicates if you make it to 1, then we have risk of losing the data. Exactly. If you make it to 1, obviously you'll need to face the risk. So node communication indicates your cluster, all the nodes of your cluster, they'll communicate with each other through the TCP and IP protocols. Exactly speaking, they will follow IPv4 protocol, where there will be a communication with all your nodes. There will be a communication among your nodes. That's how the Hadoop was made automized, because of the communication. And it's a shared nothing architecture, indicates each and every block, and when you want to process your data, the data will be processed independently, where there will not be any dependencies while processing your data. And less surveillance indicates The role of administrator, simply I'll pass a bold statement which will give a exact meaning for this statement, less surveillance. The role of administrator in Hadoop is very minimal. It's almost negligible because the framework is completely automized where it requires very less monitoring. That indicates you require very less surveillance.